You're listening to Aviation Marketing Hangar Flying, the community for the best sales and marketing professionals in the aviation industry. You can't learn to fly just from a book. You learn from other pilots who know the tools, the skills, and the territory. Your hosts, John and Paula Williams, are your sales and marketing test pilots. They take the risks for you and share strategies, relevant examples, hacks, and how-tos. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes so you won't miss a thing.
Welcome to Aviation Marketing Hangar Flying, episode number 99, Storyboarding and Aviation Sales. So I'm Paula Williams.
I'm John Williams.
And we are ABCI, and ABCI's mission is
to help all you ladies and gentlemen out there sell more products and services in the aviation world.
Absolutely. So if you have any thoughts while you're listening to this podcast.
You should change that. That makes it look like we're falling on our face when that thing changes.
I know. I need to do that, but it's kind of a neat effect. I'm using Keynote, and I'm using the fall transition for slides. So If you're watching the slides, it looked like we just fell on our noses. But anyway, so if you have any thoughts about this or anything else, you can submit comments using the hashtag #AvGeekMarketing, or you can just comment on our blog or on our
I got to correct
channel.
you again. I mean, they can't just comment on anything else, anything having to do with marketing.
Oh, they can comment on anything.
That doesn't mean we're going to respond to it.
But we will respond to it if it has to do with sales or marketing, right?
Okay, fine.
Okay, so today we're talking about storyboarding, and usually people talk about storyboarding in response to things like cartoons or skits or plays or drama, other kinds of things. But it's really important for sales and marketing as well. And we'll talk about why that is and how you can use it. And we'll also talk about how much and how far you want to break down into steps and visualize the process. And then the second thing is we also want to see it from your prospect's point of view. So storyboarding is actually a really cool tool for solving any problem in your sales or marketing situation, I think. It's a really good tool to have in your toolbox. All right? Okay, so what do I mean by storyboarding? The less cool way of referring to this is kind of like process mapping, right? But that's not fun. Storyboarding is much more fun. Process mapping is just basically taking the process and drawing it on paper and visualizing it. But what that does is it forces you to put it into smaller pieces. And most of the marketing companies or most of the aviation companies that we talk to about their sales or marketing process haven't really thought about it in enough detail. Most of them have never really drawn it out, and most of them have never really outlined it. They just say, I ask, well, how do most people find you? And they say, well, they find us on our website, or they found us at a trade show, or, something like that. But they haven't really thought through, okay, so what are the steps? How did they get to your website?
And typically they don't put tracking information, so they don't really know anyway. Exactly.
And once they got to your website, which pages did they visit, and did they dial your number, or did they click a button to submit a form? What happened?
And as much as when I was taught about marketing in business school, it sounded to me like a bunch of fuzzy people didn't know really what they were doing. But
fuzzy people?
Well, fuzzy processes.
Fuzzy thinking people.
Yeah, whatever. But you have shown me that you can track every single click down to what happens.
Absolutely. So, if you do this right, and, I know this sounds like an awful lot of work, but the nice thing is the more you measure, the more control you have of the whole process. And if you don't control it, the prospect will. And the prospect is not interested in doing business with you. The prospect is just interested in getting what he wants from wherever he can get it from. So you have to be the one who cares about this, right?
Yeah, and the more you control it, the more you can maintain financial control over it.
Absolutely. So, if you figure out that you're spending an awful lot of money on, a particular social media tool, as an example, and then you figure out you are getting 0 or 5 visits to your website and none of them are resulting in sales, that's an obvious place to save some money, right?
Yeah, then you got to figure out where they are coming from and do more of that.
Right, and that's the other side of the coin. You want to figure out, if everybody is finding you using search engine optimization, that's a good place to spend some money, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's just an example. Your results may vary, of course.
It may be content marketing, and maybe digital. It could be
trade show, a particular trade show that you do really well every year that has your exact demographic. It could be that you're getting 90% of your business from referrals and you just need to up that process, and maybe look at that in a little bit more detail. But if you outline it, and my favorite tool to do this is OmniGraffle. If you have a Mac, that's kind of cool. If you have a PC, heaven forbid, there is a really nice tool called Visio that I used to love when I was a PC person. And I'm really sad that they don't have a Visio for Mac, but it is a really nice process mapping tool or storyboarding tool. So we call
it is actually.
And you want to think about, what happens at each of these steps. So, as an example, people come to, people look you up on a search engine. What words are they using? As you come up in that search, they click on that, they go to a landing page. What are they seeing? Once they fill that out, what happens? Once they get whatever you send them, do you follow up with a phone call? Does that phone call take into account the fact that they downloaded this tip sheet, or is it just a miscellaneous sales call where they're trying to sell them just some generic thing? The more personalized you can get with this, the better. So you can storyboard your marketing process. You can also storyboard your sales process. So you might think about this from the perspective, if you're a salesperson, of, how did people find you for the first time and what happened from that point? Did you offer them something? And if you are having trouble at a particular point in your sales process, the easiest way to solve that problem is to put in more baby steps, right? So, if you meet them at a trade show and you say, buy my product, and they don't, and you write them off, that's not terribly good salesmanship. But if you can break that down into smaller pieces and say, would you like to know more about, and would you like to come to a product demo, and would you, like to bring a coworker to a webinar, and, all of those things that are lower cost and lower risk on both sides, you're a lot more likely to get a yes at each step. So wherever people are dropping off, that's a good place to invest some time and money.
Yep.
Okay. So, taking that example of, people find us at a trade show. Okay, well, let's break that down. And let's say this is how it happened for a particular person. The prospect sees a Twitter trivia contest, right? And you use the hashtag NBAA 2017. So people who are at the trade show, NBAA,
will see it.
Whether or not they use Twitter, if they're using the NBAA app, at least last year it was set up so that certain hashtags would be picked up by the app.
And even if you don't use the app, you walk around and they got screens all over the place showing you.
Yeah. So it's a great way to get some free advertising. And a lot of people think, well, I'll just show up at the trade show and then it's luck of the draw. Whoever drops by my booth, that's great, but you have to do something to give them a reason to come to your booth, because there's a million people competing for their attention in that room, right?
And you start 60 to 90 days ahead of the convention to make that happen.
And plan this out, exactly. So, one way to do this, and this is actually a really cool way to do this, is to have a trivia contest. Or a product demo, or some other reason for people to visit your booth. And we've done a bunch of shows, and if you go to our website and search trade show prospecting, or ways to get people to your booth on ABCI's website, there's probably 3 or 4 different articles with a lot of ideas on how to do that. But let's say you chose a trivia quiz or a trivia contest. So you advertise your trivia contest using your Twitter hashtag. Okay, so a prospect sees that on a screen, or sees it on the app, or sees it on Twitter, and says, oh, that sounds like fun. I know a lot about
whatever that was.
Whatever it is, or aviation insurance or whatever. So they come to your booth And, what do they see when they come to your booth? Is there something that's reassuring them that they're in the right place for the trivia quiz? Because there's so much going on at these things, and they don't want to look like an idiot because they went to the wrong booth, right?
You got to make it easy for them as they approach the booth, because all they're looking for is the booth number.
Exactly. So they come to the booth and they see something that's consistent with what they saw on Twitter, right? They come to your booth. When they approach the booth, is somebody available to shake their hand and, help them take the next step, or is everybody got their nose in their iPads, So you want to make sure that you've got somebody available and on high receive to make sure that they feel welcome and that they take the next step. So Tim, we'll say Tim is our salesperson. He approaches this person and shakes their hand, and then Tim asks some friendly qualifying questions, and you've thought these out ahead of time because you storyboarded it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are those questions that you could ask? Where are you from? Do you currently have insurance? What brings you in today? Those kinds of things. How is the show going for you? Lots of things that you could ask to find out more about that person without scaring them away. Tim hands the person a clipboard with a trivia quiz entry form. That hopefully, since we've storyboarded it, we know we need an entry form. So we've taken the time to have one formatted nicely with our logo and, that answers all their questions. And we have pens because we've storyboarded that part. So we know we're going to need pens because not everybody is going to have one. So Tim explains the contest and the prizes. The prospect completes the trivia quiz and provides his contact information. Tim receives the entry form and suggests a consultation. Does the prospect accept? If he does, he goes ahead and schedules the consultation right then and there. If he says no, that's fine. Tim adds the prospect to his follow-up list, and they send him a information package after the show. So if you've thought that through and storyboarded that all out, then the prospect feels really well taken care of, right? It feels like a really professional process, very comfortable for everyone. Nobody's left searching for a pen because nobody thought that through.
And the worst case is you have somebody you can market to.
Exactly. Or you have somebody that decides they don't want to do the trivia quiz for whatever reason, but at least you've made a nice slippery funnel for them coming in. Every step has been smoothed. There's no speed bumps here, right?
Yeah, any sales question is yes, no, or not yet.
Exactly. All right, so that's an example of a storyboard. And the reason that we're doing this podcast, actually what made us think of this, is we read something recently that the movie The Matrix had
500
storyboards for a single scene.
Yep.
And you think about some of these things that look really neat. It's not an accident. They didn't just do that, and make it happen. And you think about Disneyland, which we kind of used as an example to start with. Disneyland didn't just fall together accidentally. It is the work of many, many people working very, very hard, storyboarding the entire experience from the time that you book your tickets. In fact, they now do these little armbands, or these wristbands. Mm-hmm. They send them to you in this nice little gift packet. So it starts building anticipation from, the time you buy your tickets to when you show up in the parking lot and you've got these friendly people waving you into the nearest space. You come in the gate, you are standing in line for your favorite ride, and the line is long, but they've thought that through and give you lots of things to do so that you don't feel like you're wasting your time. They make it a really good experience for everyone because they've thought it through and they've storyboarded it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's entertainment. And you're thinking, well, I'm in sales. I'm not in entertainment. But you know what? We're all in showbiz.
That's right.
It's all showbiz. For example, when you buy a car or buy an airplane, they have a process that they deliver that, and they have storyboarded that process like nobody's business. And, so they bring you into the hangar, you see your plane for the first time, you fall in love, there's, fireworks and little hearts and flowers. And, they hand you pictures, they hand you the keys, they take a picture, all of this stuff is storyboarded. And some of it can be tacky and over the top, and you think this is cheese, but most people and most businesses don't do enough of it. Thinking through this from the customer's perspective. How can I make this easier, more fun, more satisfying, more worth their money, more valuable, more convenient, better, in whatever way it is that your brand is famous for, right?
Yep. And the final thing, well, not the final, but one of the final things in an aircraft sale is an acceptance flight, which sounds like what a waste of time, but it's a very necessary thing.
Absolutely. And whether you're selling airplanes or whether you're selling insurance, after somebody has made the purchase, you can storyboard that process as well. It may not be an acceptance flight, and it may not be, the dramatic, delivery of the aircraft. It's a delivery of their policy. It should come in a really nice binder with a really nice pen, and it should be an experience where you're handing them something and you're giving them a nice warm handshake, and you're starting the experience with them feeling good about the whole experience, and willing and able to tell their friends, all their questions are answered, and they feel good about having made the purchase, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So big ideas about this episode.
Storyboarding is a tool you can use for sales and or marketing.
Absolutely.
And you need to break down and visualize all the processes so that you make sure you got it all lined up and you're not missing a point.
Right. And then the third big idea is that you really want to see it from your prospect's point of view. Go through it and, go sit in the parking lot and see what they see, and do this from your customer's point of view and put yourself literally in their moccasins.
The most successful people do these things.
Yeah, they absolutely do. This episode has been brought to you by our Aviation Sales and Marketing Concierge Service. This is how we help our customers who are doing a lot more with a lot fewer people in the last few years, it seems. And a lot of the things like reports, budgets, plans, sales support, evaluations, copywriting, email, direct mail, trade show prep and follow-up, those kinds of things sometimes don't get done just because you don't have enough time or have enough people to make them happen. And without those little details, executing even the most creative and the most effective campaigns isn't going to work as well as you'd like it to, because those details are really important. So this is our way of helping you out by providing an extra pair of hands on some of those really critical tasks. Ask us about our Aviation Sales and Marketing Concierge Service, or go to abci1.com/concierge to find out more. Please do subscribe to our podcast, Aviation Marketing Hangar Flying, on iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play. And please do subscribe. Please do tell your friends. And please do leave us a review. That's how other people find us and stop doing terrible marketing in the aviation industry. It's wasteful, and it's unfortunate because, we really can't afford it as an industry. And the better we do, the better we all do, right?
And not only that, but if they're doing wasteful marketing, it's expensive.
Random acts of marketing, we call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Ciao.
Thanks for joining us for Aviation Marketing Hangar Flying, the best place to learn what really works in sales and marketing in the aviation industry. Remember to subscribe on iTunes and leave a rating.
You're cool.